If you really want to accomplish your goals, you have to really want it. Want it so badly you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. If you've heard that and found that that's not necessarily true, this might be the book for you. Switch by brothers Chip and Dan Heath. You could want something so badly, but maybe you don't have the knowledge, maybe you don't have the motivation every single day, and maybe there's obstacles in your path. If you're struggling with this, I know I have. This might be the book for you. In this video, we'll discuss 10 of the best ideas and studies contained in here to make all the chances you want a little bit easier. First off, I want to say that this book is highly underrated. No one talks about it, but the insight I got from this book is easily worth 10 grand, possibly more. There's a fantastic metaphor that's ongoing throughout this book of the rider, the elephant, and shaping the path. The rider sits on top of the elephant. The rider provides the direction of where you need to go, but the elephant drives you. That's your motivation, that's the emotion, that's your why, is what Simon Sinek says. And then the path. Exactly where you need to go. And the importance of shaping that path, because you could know what you need to do, have the motivation, the drive, but if there are obstacles in the way, it makes it much more challenging. In this book, we'll discuss the 10 ideas to get your rider in the right direction, to provide motivation for the elephant to move down the path, and then to remove all the obstacles that are in the path, to shape it. Let's discuss the first idea now. The first idea is incredible. It's in the rider section, bright spots. It's so easy to look at what you're doing wrong and say, oh, what do I need to fix? Why can't I make this right? When in reality, you could look and see what's working from someone else and just try to copy them, try to model them, and get the same results. And in this book they discuss in Vietnam, there's a bunch of villages. These kids are suffering from malnutrition because of the poverty levels, the sanitation, just lack of knowledge of how to provide the proper nutrition to these kids. There's so many brilliant people, they team up together and they can't seem to find the solution. But one guy has this idea of the bright spots. He goes to a village and finds that these kids in this village are rather healthy. They have the same conditions of all these other villages, but somehow they're getting amazing results. Somehow these kids are healthy. Bottom line is what they found for the most part is that these kids were eating shrimp from the rice paddies that were in the fields. And all this guy did was see what was working in that village and went to the other village and showed these mothers how to add protein into their kids' meals. And then all of a sudden, they didn't have to provide so much information, they didn't need to change the sanitation, the poverty level did not increase or decrease, it stayed the same, but all of a sudden, that bright spot made all the other bright spots possible. Think about your life. Is there something that you want to do so badly, but it's just not working out? Here's a personal example with me, with YouTube. Ideally, I'd like to have more people than me and my mom watch my videos. I've been working so hard for the past couple months, but the thing is I've been putting out things that no one wants. Look what I have here. No one cares about that. I was about to give up, but I learned about these bright spots, and I started to look at people who had success, what they were doing. And once I started looking at the bright spots, applying what I saw from those other people, I started to get more views. So don't beat yourself up if you're not getting results. Just look and see what's working and try to model it. Find the bright spot. Idea number 2, scripting key moves. The main theme of this section of the book, the rider section, is that it's not resistance, but lack of clarity that gets in the way of your goals. One example here in this segment is with a small town. These people wanted to decrease the saturated fat intake of the people in this town. They could provide them all this information on how it clogs their arteries, leads to heart attack, things they already know. But it's not resistance. It's lack of clarity. So what they do is they start running ads that say, when you're in the grocery store, instead of reaching for whole milk, reach for 1% instead. Scripting a key move, something very simple, something that they would do. And what happened over months of time, these people became healthier, they decreased their saturated fat intake, largely because they had something specific that they can do. They went instead for whole milk and grabbed the 1% instead. Script your key moves if you want to be successful. Idea number 3, have a destination postcard. It's so easy to look at where you want to go, whatever your dream is, to make it a reality, to realize all that you have to do. It's just so daunting, it stresses you out. You may not even take the first step realizing how much work that needs to be done. But just focus on where you'd like to go and focus on where you're starting. To piggyback off that second idea, scripting your key moves, take the action steps today, the little steps, the first ones to move forward, but then have that vision of your mind, of knowing that all the hard work you need to do will pay off one day. I know I did that for school. to become a pharmacist, I had to look at stuff a lot. That was just kind of boring, to be honest with you. Gout, that's not a sexy topic. But all I did was just focus on the next test. And then from time to time, I would visualize just being completely done with school, having my diploma, having my degree, and then it provided the drive to study when I didn't feel like it. Don't get caught up in the middle. Focus on where you need to go right now, the first step, and then the end destination, your destination postcard. Idea number 4, fix your swing. This idea highlights on solution-focused therapy. Let's say I'm a golfer. I'm terrible, I'm the worst, I suck. True story. But I decide I'm going to get help. I hire a professional, we go to the driving range. Do you think he asked me about my childhood? If my parents are divorced? If I'm afraid of being successful? No, he offers me advice on how I can fix my swing today and start hitting the ball straight. That's the idea with solution-focused therapy. In traditional therapy, they try to excavate. What they highlight in this book is they try to dig up your past, try to find your problems, and then come up with a solution. But it takes a long time to dig up the past. In reality, all you need is a solution, just like fixing your golf swing. Maybe you have this with your fears. I know I did, and here's an irrational one. You may not be able to tell this, but I'm a pretty big guy. I'm about 6'3", 200 pounds. But I would get absolutely terrified with roaches. Even if it was 15 feet away, I would just do that number. Even around pretty girls, it was absolutely embarrassing. I could dig in my past, try to find out why, but in reality, I just needed to face it. I changed my mindset and realized that roaches are very tiny, they're not going to hurt me. And the other day, there was one in the corner of my room, and I picked it up with a paper towel and put it in the trash. Solution-focused therapy. Look into it. Fix your swing. The next few ideas will be from the Motivate the Elephant section. Idea number 5. It's more motivating to be partially finished with a longer journey than it is to be at the starting line of a shorter one. Think about loyalty programs. What I mean by that is a sandwich shop where you need to get 8 sandwiches. And after you get those 8 sandwiches, you get a stamp for each one, then you get a free sandwich. Well, in this study, they did it with car washes. You needed to get 8 stamps. After the 8th stamp, you got a free car wash. But what's interesting here, they had 2 separate groups. The first group, they offered a stamp where they needed to get 8 stamps. They complete it, they get their car wash. However, in this group, they needed to get 10. But they had 2 stamps already punched for them. In reality, they both needed 8 stamps. But this group got their free car wash months later at a 19% success rate. While this group had 34%. That does seem small, but in reality, they both needed 8 stamps. You would think that the percentages should be the same. But if you believe that you've already started on your journey, it becomes easier. Isn't it the hard part just getting started on a journey? Apply this in your life. Let's say you're at the gym. You want to get 10 pull-ups. How about starting at 2 and counting to 12? You might be more motivated, you might be more driven, and you might actually get 10 easier than if you just started counting at 1. Give this a try. Idea number 6, go from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. Let's discuss a virtuous cycle and what they discuss in the book with a dirty house. You look around and you see that your house is absolutely filthy, but you know that it'll take hours and hours of work. You look at all the work that needs to be done and you just don't even want to get started. But what happens is, because there's so much work to be done and lack of doing things, it continues to get dirtier and dirtier. It's just a vicious cycle. It's just so daunting to get started, and because you don't get started, it gets worse and worse. But if you have a new approach, a virtuous cycle, you can start cleaning your house. Instead of going for a clean house, shoot for a cleaner house. In this book, they discuss the 5-minute rescue. There's a cleaning guru in this book that advises to go into the dirtiest room of your house. Set a 5-minute timer, and for those 5 minutes, clean. And once that timer's up, you can go back to whatever you're doing. You can have that feeling of accomplishment. But what happens often is that you feel really good about getting started. Then you might do another 5 minutes, and another 5 minutes. And before you know it, you have a clean house. It was all because you motivated your elephant. You got the elephant moving, he started feeling good, and then he wanted to keep moving. So instead of a clean house, shoot for a cleaner house. One example could be writing a book. 80% of people want to do it. Only 1% actually do. It's because a book is daunting. But what if you looked at it like this? You're going to sit down and you're going to write a paragraph. That's it. You write your paragraph, and after that paragraph, you can leave, do whatever you want. It's often just getting started. If you get started, you want to keep going. So break whatever goal you have into small chunks, little 5-minute rescues, and see what happens. Idea number 7 will bring you so much success. It's been working for me. I've been using it on other people. It's been working for them too. It's the miracle scale. Think about an amazing wild dream you have. On a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 being that dream being a reality. Where are you? In this book, they highlight a young kid who is shy. He says that he's a 2 out of 10. He has no problem admitting it, and he hates that he's shy. 10 being the life of the party. Here's the approach. Now, if 10 is being the life of the party, being sociable, outgoing, the key here should not be to go from 2 to 10 overnight. It should be to go from 2 to 3. You ask this kid, what would it take to be a 3? He might say something like, going to the grocery store and asking the clerk where the toothpaste is. Now think about this. If he goes to the grocery store and does that, in his mind, he's moved from 2 to 3. And what happens here with this miracle scale is that it builds hope. This young kid will start to say, maybe I don't have to be shy forever. And maybe with your goal, it might seem impossible. You might be a 2 out of 10 right now. But what if we can move you to a 3? A 3 to a 4, a 4 to a 5. And if it takes a couple years, so be it. But one day, if you're a 10, wouldn't that be pretty awesome? Start using the miracle scale and move one number at a time. Idea number 8, change your identity. You can change your behavior, but if you want to consistently change and have it stick, you'll need to change your identity. In this study that they discuss in this book, it's just absolutely incredible. There's a manufacturing plant in Brazil that makes steel cans. What's interesting here is that the company, they don't call their employees employees. They call their employees inventors. They even have them sign a contract that says that they're inventors. But what was so amazing is that because these employees saw themselves as inventors, they all of a sudden became creative. In 2008, this company submitted 134,846 ideas collectively. That is over 145 ideas per employee or per inventor. Bottom line, if you want to make change, the fastest way could be just to change how you see yourself, to change your identity.
The last 2 ideas come from the Shape Your Path section, which is basically changing your environment.
Idea number 9, set action triggers. Knowing what you want to do beforehand will make it so much easier to make the right choice. What's actually so draining to our elephants is just not knowing what to do. If we know beforehand, we'll be better off. In this one study, they had college kids over winter break that had the option to do an extra credit assignment on writing a paper on what they did on Christmas. The people in this study tracked 2 separate groups. In this group right here, they said, okay, you have an extra credit assignment that you need to do by December 26th. That was it. In this group right here, they did the same thing, but added, tell us when you plan on doing it. Say, for example, Christmas morning. What they found is that in this group, where they were given the assignment, but no action trigger, 33% of them completed the assignment. However, in this group, where they did have an action trigger, for example, Christmas morning, 75% of people finished the assignment. Bottom line, it's so draining to make decisions. If you make them beforehand, what they discuss in this book, to preload your decisions, you'll have more success. 33% versus 75%, the evidence is right there. One thing that you can do is the night before, just spend a couple minutes writing out what you want to do for the day in hourly increments. For example, it could be 11 o'clock, but you wrote down in your schedule that you want to be reading, you want to be studying, you want to be at the gym. You'll likely do what you wrote out because you had an action trigger. You preloaded your decision. There's no thinking, you just do it. This is key to your success. Start setting action triggers. Idea number 10, rally the herd. This idea highlights when you're uncertain, don't know what to do, you generally look around, see what other people are doing, and try to follow them. Just make sure you're following the right people. In this study, there was over 12,000 people tracked for 32 years. What they found is that when these people were obese, their mutual friends were 3 times likely to be obese. That's insane! But when you think about it, it's not really. When you're uncertain on how to behave or a certain standard to have for your life, you look around to the people closest to you and say, okay, that's acceptable. Lack of exercise, lack of diet, whatever it is, and because of the people you're spending time with, you generally become them over time. Just make sure whoever you want to follow, whoever you want to copy, just make sure you're following the right herd. My friends, those are the 10 ideas. Remember that change is not going to happen overnight. It is a process. It's not going to be easy, but hopefully with these ideas, it will be easier. There are 3 parts to making changes. You can direct your rider, motivate your elephant, and shape your path. Remember the 4 ideas we discussed in directing your rider, the bright spots. If you're watching this video and you're not my mom, that's key, that looking at what's working and try to copy it is a way to be successful. Number 2, to script key moves, not to be vague with your New Year's resolutions. Just like with the milk, reaching for the whole milk, instead reach for the 1%. To have a destination postcard, not get caught up in all the work you need to do, but visualize what all your hard work will lead to and focus on what step you need to take right now. Fix your swing. It doesn't matter why you're hitting the ball wrong. It doesn't matter what fear you have. Just address it. Find a solution to the problem. 5th idea, remember, it's more motivating to believe you've already started a longer journey than it is to be at the starting gate of a shorter one. Think about the car wash study. How 8 stamps compared to 10 stamps led to more success believing that you've already started your journey. Number 6, the 5-minute rescue, going from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. To chunk up your big goal into small tasks and to satisfy your element, to provide them immediate gratification and to build on that success. Next, the miracle scale. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a miracle, where are you? If you're a 2, try to get to a 3. Getting to a 10 is not crucial right now. Let's move you up 1 number. And lastly, change your identity. Remember the people at that company who believed they were inventors. They came up with 145 ideas per year. That's amazing. Change your identity. The last 2 ideas, from shaping your path, changing your environment, setting action triggers, and preloading your decision. Remember that writing study, how the people who decided Christmas morning to do the assignment were more successful. Start writing out your plan for tomorrow, the night before, and when the time comes, you'll be more successful. And lastly, rally the herd. Remember that obesity study. If you have an obese friend, you're 3 times more likely to be obese. Surround yourself with the right people. Rally the herd. Follow the right people. I stand by what I said. This book is worth at least 10 grand to me. It'll probably give you the same results if you apply what you learn. Apply these 10 ideas. This is the first book review I've done. I plan on doing more. It takes a long time to read a book. If you want little summaries like this, subscribe to the channel today. And if you have any suggestions for me, please leave a comment below. I've read a lot of books. This is your friend Michael Unks, inspiring you to learn, laugh, and love. I hope you enjoyed this video, and my friend, I will see you in the next one.